Welcome back to another Depths of the Melody. I was able to sit down with Chris Harms of Lord of the Lost.
You, but they chose to wait. Here's a story, here's a plot. No happy ending, no lullaby.
Today, I think you're really going to enjoy this conversation that I had with Chris. It was an honor. I'm very excited for his future and what he has planned to show us, and I think it's going to be amazing. So I hope you got your snacks, sit back and relax, and enjoy this episode of the Depths of the Melody. Chris, man, hey, thank you so
Me
much for
too.
taking time, dude, to hang out and talk about your new project, and also just being able to talk music and life with you, dude.
Yeah, I'm here. I'm all yours. Hit me.
I I remember my first exposure to you was years ago, and it was Voodoo Doll,
hmm
and I would have no at that time when I first heard that song, I'd have no idea how profound that song would be years now, like years later.
hmm
Because at that time when I first heard that song, I was like very religious, very devout,
hmm
and I've had a lot of like crazy transitions in life. And I was listening to it the other day, and I was like, "Oh my God, like what a song that has like become kind of like this." It's more than just, "Oh man, that's a cool sounding song." Like those lyrics and everything are just so profound, and so being able to sit down and just hang out and talk with you, man,
But
is
can I
awesome.
ask you something? Being
Sure.
crazy religious can be good, can be bad. It depends on how people use that. I know people that are crazy religious, but they are neither trying to, to get into others people's minds and to try to tell them what's right or wrong. They're just super happy with themselves and everything. Some people are crazy religious, but they are being oppressed, suppressed by so many rules and whatever. There's so many religions and facets within these certain religions. So did crazy religious for you mean a good thing, a bad thing, both?
So I love that you said that, because I know people as well that are just amazing. Like they are great people, and I personally think faith is a beautiful thing if it's a personal thing, something that you explore in the private of your soul, kind of thing. It's when you start to push it on other people that it becomes a problem. Um, for me, I'm naturally somebody who wants to please, and I I lost my father at a young age, and
Mhm.
growing up in a Christian home, you know, I was my dad's only son, so I always had a desire to be like, Dad, I want to make you proud, I want to make you happy. And then you lose him, and then you're kind of told, "Hey, here's this sky daddy who
Yeah.
uh who, wants your love and affection." So for me, it wasn't even so much about like the rules. It was more of like trying to appeal a God. And I remember like looking back in my life, and during those 20 years were like the loneliest of my life on a personal level. You know, I never really took people and like their faith personal. Like obviously you run into people and they could say mean things or horrible things. And I never took that personal. Like I didn't walk away from the faith because of people. It was more of
Yeah.
like my own anguish and like kind of the stuff that I dealt with during that time, and I did kind of grow up around like kind of fanatical Christians, my you know what I mean? And so yeah, I think that answers the question.
But so at the moment where you heard the song, was that like, did you feel like being trapped in being like crazy religious, or so it wasn't just a good thing anymore at this point in your life, or
Yeah.
so the song
Um
was somehow liberating? The voodoo doll thing was like you had the feeling like this house, you're not in self-control somehow.
it actually, I remember the first time I heard it, I loved the melody of it, right? And I like how the way you sing, the way you portray emotion through your voice is really connecting. So I
Mhm.
remember like hearing it, And I remember like really listening to the lyrics and I almost felt guilt. I felt
Oh,
I felt guilt,
sorry.
not from you, but
Yeah,
we're kind of, how dare like, don't ever think of anything that could be not of God or not of this faith.
yeah,
So I remember like I remember being like, man, this song sounds really great. But then I would reflect and be like, what would life be like if like I walked away from this? You know what I mean? And as my own life has gone on and I started to see just in my own personal life the fallacy for me, just for me. If a religion or whatever works for somebody and it makes them a better person and they are, you know, doing great things, I am so happy for them. If they have that peace in their soul.
yeah,
I did not, you
yeah.
know.
Okay, yeah,
And yeah, so but now it's looking back, yeah, because I'm a stubborn person and I don't do well with command. And so,
okay, yeah. Yeah,
you
yeah,
know,
yeah, yeah. I totally get this. Like an authority problem. It's like,
yeah,
oh, yeah.
I've always been a bit rebellious.
Like when policemen stop you and you haven't done anything wrong, but you still feel
Guilty.
yeah, you still feel guilty for nothing. It's like it's weird with me whenever I'm like, I don't even drink alcohol and I'm not speeding, I'm not the kind of guy who expresses his manliness with his car. So I don't feel the
Yeah.
need to. I have a big, strong, and fast car. I don't need it, and I drive smooth and slow. I don't drink, and when cops come and stop me, and I open the window, I feel guilty. Like, hello.
Is there something
Yeah,
unseen thing that I don't know about that?
do you want me to pee on a stick or I don't know? I'm not. Yeah.
Yeah, I totally, yeah.
And
I
it's and it's and it's always so funny when they're like, okay, seriously, when was the last time you did drugs? And I'm like, New Year's 2001 or something like that. And they're like, okay.
Yeah. So it's definitely not in your system. Nothing's gonna come up when we do
Yeah,
your
no.
test.
Yeah.
Oh man, yeah, it's funny. I still feel guilt sometimes going through like a store and I go through the magnetic with my merchandise or whatever. Like I'll walk through when I pay for things. I'm like, is that thing gonna go off? Did I somehow something fall in my
Yeah.
bag that
I mean, it's the same with me, but whenever I go through it, I feel like it could go off and someone or like when I'm buying something and I get a receipt. I always like have it in my hand so the security sees it
yeah,
when I'm going outside because I don't even want to have the discussion. Yeah,
yeah.
I
It's right here, dude. Before you jump on me.
yeah.
Um, did you uh did you ever did you ever think like your music obviously. Well, let me ask this. Do you ever like look back and look at how, did you ever think that the music you would create would have such an impact on people?
Mm, it's hard to remember if I thought that or if I wished for that or if I really thought it would be possible to actually come that far that more people than my parents or I don't know would be interested in my music, my closest friends. So I think I hoped for it somehow because when I watched, live DVDs when I was young or and all these things, especially with live records or watched shows or something, and when I was there and felt the magic, I always thought like it would be so nice to be able to do that. And I think for two reasons. One reason was attention, some
Mm.
a need that I don't feel anymore. But as a younger person, of course, like going on stage with makeup and stuff. Meanwhile, I just do it because it's so much fun. But back then, all this shock rock stuff, it was, of course, I wanted the attention, not just the positive one, also the negative one. I wanted to get the negative attention.
Yeah.
I was young. But at the same time, I thought like, I always knew what music helped me go through. So I had this valve listening to music, but I also had this outlet when I was creating music just for myself without showing it to someone. So I really hope that maybe one day I could do that. I know I hope that, but I never, I think I don't remember. I think I never thought I would. So until this day, this is always like the best compliment. Whenever I'm at a meet and greet or something, and then someone comes like, "Hey, you literally saved my life," or "You helped me through hard times," or whenever I'm feeling down, I listen to your voice, I feel content and happy. I feel the strength to do something and to work out, to whatever. That's always the best compliment because all these other compliments, they're just fading. Like, hey, you look so cool with your tattoos and your makeup, or um, can you get undressed on stage a little more? You look so sexy. All these things, like, yeah, of course it's somehow nice to hear that for a while, but all these things don't mean a thing.
It's
But
pretty
when people,
surface.
yeah, but when people really tell me that I'm able to actually help them, I love that. And this is one of the reasons why the way you see me right here, I'm sitting at home at my work desk. I was just doing some emails and whatever all morning, and I decide to go into most of these interviews unless I'm at a festival and I have to wear makeup because I'm going on to stage or whatever. I decided to do these interviews just like that because I don't want to be just this image for people they can reflect all their extreme fantasies on, this like this shock rock, glam rock, whatever figure, um, which they can adore like they adore like a manga figure or a superhero or a villain, or because it's basically, I'm not saying I'm a superhero, no, but it's basically the same thing. It's not real. And I like to be seen for the real stuff, and the real stuff is actually the communication through music. And this is why for many years now I decided to never try to be someone to be bigger than I am actually. I just
Mm.
go here and talk to you, and this is the same level on which I think the real feelings in the music connect with people, the thing that actually helps them. The thing that helps them is not the guy in makeup. The thing that helps them is the real stuff. The guy in makeup is just that's just a circus. It's just a cool show around it because it's fun. I love it, but that doesn't count.
Mm. Yeah, I feel like you get to a point in life where you really, if you become aware of like life and what really matters in life, and that there's so many people going through things and they're dealing with life, the weight of life, being able to offer something. But I sometimes wonder too, like, it has to be kind of surreal that like your music, a lot of times I feel like most artists when they're creating music, it's kind of for themselves in the beginning. Like when they're writing a song, they're kind of like, this is something on my heart that I just want to get out there. But then when you see the effect, like what you said, where like somebody goes, "Hey, Chris, like that song," or, you know, this thing really changed me or gave me a perspective I didn't have, or something. Yeah, it has to be surreal, like hearing that sometimes.
Yeah, it is surreal, and sometimes it's even too close. Like, you know, all this thing is like permeable. Is that the right word? Like membrane. It goes in
Oh yeah,
one
yeah, yeah.
direction, but not the other. So I'm much closer to people than people are to me. So I might hang over the beds on a poster, and they listen to my voice every day. And singing is like speaking, it's communication. And I have spoken to them for hours, for a decade maybe. So I'm closer to them than they are to me. So people tend to approach me then on social media and write me like, I just lost my grandpa, my grandma, my mom, my dad, and then it goes worse and worse. My kid, my beloved, and they were so young. I get these messages like nearly every day, and we played this song on the funeral. And I'm at a certain moment, I have to ignore that, not because I want to. I want to piss anyone off, but I'm a very empathetic person, which can be a bad thing because there's no filter. And if I'm being bombarded with all this sadness, although I appreciate people doing that actually, because they speak out, they dare to come to me to tell me to thank me, but it's so much sadness, and I've heard of so many kids that had died, like newborn babies that had died, and they played the song at the funeral. I'm like, I'm always feeling a part of their pain, and sometimes it's just like it's too much. So sometimes I have to block that out because it's like I can't take all of that in, and but mostly it's very beautiful to hear that it can be helpful. So sometimes I am able to filter that. And the funny thing is to circle back to what you just said about uh, mostly you doing this music for yourself. Whenever I try to deliberately like create a song to help people, yeah, that kind of works. But the songs that actually help people are the songs that I only make for myself, which speak to them much more than if I intend to do something to help them. So a while back, I just stopped that because I realized when I just do it for me to kind of self-therapy myself, it's much more genuine in a way. So I don't even have to try to help them. Maybe I just be real, talk about my feelings. And like on the solo record right now, there's so many like very sad songs alongside all these fluffy, happy melodies, which is a great contrast. But even if I hide some of the truths in there behind pictures and dreams and first, in some cases, I will never talk about what's real or what's not, what's autobiographical or what's not. It seemed to touch people in a very deep way, and I'm very thankful for that, actually.
Yeah,
That was a long, that was a long talk of mine, sorry. But
no,
yeah.
no, I think you're just speaking to the authenticity of somebody who is very aware of his surroundings and has lived a lot of life and has seen a lot of things. And people, I believe people crave authenticity. And like in this world, like take out government, take out all of this stuff. There are so many people just kind of wandering and they're kind of told what to do by their peers or by social media or whatever. And for you to be vulnerable, to open up, share these deep parts of your soul in your music, somebody listens to that and they go, I thought I was the only one who felt that, and this dude just sung about it. You know, I think more and more people are trying to wake up. More and more people are trying to find something that's real and not just surface level feelings, chasing what everybody else is chasing. Something that makes them like breathe in and be like, I'm alive. I like life is more than this this hollow chase sometimes.
But it's funny, this one thing. On the other hand, maybe the only thing that really triggers me about negative criticism, although I try to avoid to, read reviews or whatever because I don't want to be influenced by that, neither negatively nor positively. But one of the, I think the one thing that triggers me is when someone says or writes about me, yeah, these generic lyrics, done with some, I don't know, lyric creator or call it AI today, whatever. Yeah, everybody can do that. It's like blah blah blah, and I'm like, hey man, it's really I'm really feeling that, you know. So this might be the only thing that actually triggers me, which is interesting. So because this is, when you really pour your heart into that, and I really want to do that. And some people don't seem to see that. I think that's okay, but still, this can hurt me. I just read a very interesting quote from Anthony Hopkins. He said, "What other people say about me is not my business, or is none of my business." And I kind of like that when he went like, it's not like it doesn't interest me. He said like, it's none of my business. I think that's so cool. Like, people talk shit anyway, whatever you do. So there's always people talking shit, and it's none of your business.
Yeah.
That was such a nonchalant and nice way to say it doesn't touch me. And I mean, this guy, he's like 80 plus, so he has a lot more experience to and a lot more life to look back to, and so he might be much more relaxed about these things. But I try to remember that when things piss me off, when people talk shit about me, you cannot fight that. Never. There's always going to be one. So I try to see it that way. What people say about me is none of my business.
Yeah. I Anthony Hopkins has a way with words anyway. Like he's just one of those guys that you look back and look at who he is and you're like, damn, dude, the dude's really great.
Yes.
But yeah, it is, man, because like I know like you said that you're deeply like empathic and you're at this, you
Is it
want
empathic, not empathetic? All right, that I used the
oh,
word empathetic.
em
It's like pathetic. Look, it's empathic.
you're definitely yeah, you're definitely an empath because like and you can be
Okay.
empathetic to anybody could be empathetic. Like, oh, I'm empathetic to your situation. I'm empathetic to but like to feel like if you're reading things or I- I'm sure like if you've talked to people and somebody's just talking and you'll start to feel something in your heart towards
Yeah, yeah.
them.
I was just nerding about the word. Is it empathic or empathetic? Is empathetic a word, and empathic is also a word?
Yeah, so empathetic is a word and then empathic.
All right. Okay.
Oh, sorry.
I I
I,
I learned something today.
I went on like
Every
this I went on this tangent of trying to tell you who you are and you're like, "No, dude, I just
No,
want
it's like every day's a school day. Like you should not forget. English still for me is I learned it in school and then in movies.
Yeah.
Like through movies and TV shows. So that there's a new word every day. There's so many words. Yeah.
Dude, so have you always wanted to do like kind of like a solo type project? Has that always been in your mind or
Yeah, not for the sake of it being solo. It wasn't like now I need to do something alone, all by myself, and I can decide everything myself. It's like woo. It's like it's like the way I work here is not very much different than I work with Lord of Lost or when I write songs for other artists. The only thing is, for Lord of Lost, of course, everybody in the band needs to like a song, so we actually
Mhm.
produce it. Not everybody has to be deeply in love with it. There's always some in the band who likes one song more than the other. Same with me. But that's actually the only difference. It wasn't about like I have to do this alone. It's
Mhm.
just like when you do something purely electronic. I don't need guitar players, bass players, drummers, and whatever. So I did it with a production partner in the studio who's the synthesizer nerd. Also, the solo record is a team effort, but it's just I'm the only performer, But in the background, it's people, and it's pretty much the same people like in Lord of Lost, and even some guys of the band helped with some studio work or whatever. So, and they all like it, and we all like when someone wants to do something on the side. So don't get hung up too much on the solo thing because I know that many artists they go solo because they need to feel I need to decide this alone. It wasn't about that. It was just like for this kind of thing, there was no one else needed. And I didn't even want to create like a new project with a different name, which I need to hold on to. And I need to, let's say, maintain this genre like forever. And when I release stuff under my name, I can do whatever I want. If in 5 years I feel like I want to do a singer-songwriter album in German with just an acoustic guitar and me, it can also be Chris Harm's record. So think of David Bowie. Don't want to compare myself with him, but like he's this genre-less kind of artist. He did
Mhm.
like everything. One year this, the other year that. And this just being me, just being Chris Harms and not some other project gives me the freedom to do whatever. But to answer your question, actually, I felt the need to do this 80s driven thing for like 10, 15 years or something. I think 10 years ago was the first time I talked about it in some interview. And there never was really the time, but then I just decided there will never be time. So I will just make time because there will always be something with Lord of Lost. But I really felt the need to do this sound, this record. And I can't do a purely electronic album with Lord of Lost. This would we are very free with genres in Lord of Lost, like very, but this would be too much.
Well, it was awesome, man, because I checked out I Love You, and I remember listening, and I'm a sucker. As much as I love like extreme metal, I'm also a sucker for like that 80s sound. Like that, there is something about that sound that just like gets me like hyped up, you know. And I was curious about it, going into it because I really try to stay away from like if I'm about to review something, I kind of don't want to know where they're headed, with
Mhm.
the sound. And going in and like, immediately being greeted with this like beautiful synth and everything. But like still the way the song portrays, I remember like still feeling those emotions attached to the song, you know, like I would from anything else that you would create. You know, it's just it's you just have a knack, and the people around you. You guys have a knack of like putting together things. I feel like you could do whatever the hell you want, and it's going to be, kick ass and just
For
amazing.
some people, not for all of them. So,
Speaking for myself,
yeah, yeah, thank you. But there you go. It's still like a totally matter of taste, you know. I know some of a lot of Lost fans. They don't get it, and this is totally fine.
yeah,
This is totally fine. You know, I'm not pissed if someone says, no, I don't like that. I better wait for the next Lord of Lost record. And maybe even this isn't for me. Maybe the next one. I'm just pissed if people are being disrespectful, but not
yeah,
liking something, whatever. But thank you for the compliment, really. It's like this, doing this, creating stuff, not even for myself, also for others. I produced hundreds of albums within the last 20 years or a little more. And I always try to become part of their band for the time when we are, or the project for the time when we're producing the record. And this is this is what I always try to really feel it and make people feel it the same way. And if that works, and even if it's just one person, it's beautiful. And then I can say like, yeah, okay, well done. Someone felt it the way you feel it, or maybe not the same way, but maybe this in the same intensity. And then I'm very happy.
yeah. What is I Love You about?
Well, I Love You is about it can be seen as a song about ghosting in a way. It can be seen as a song about taking the wrong decisions in life. It's partly autobiographic, but not entirely. So there's not the person who actually died, and I was standing at the graveside, but there's a scenario in my life which will lead to that eventually. I've been through things which, like the beginning of the song, somehow, or like parts of the song, are somehow true, because there were parts of my life where I'm still like, did I take the right decision? Was this the way to go, or could have could I have been with this person if I would have taken another decision? Because eventually she will say, "I love you," when she dies, but she won't say it to my face. She will say it to someone else. And there are moments in your life, and maybe for me it's just a handful, which I really remember where I still doubt, did I take the right decision? Not at every moment, but at some moments. Everybody knows that you can be the happiest person, like in a happy relationship, everything's great, but you will always come back in certain situations to moments where you think like, was this the right thing? The shoulda, coulda, woulda, you know. And this is what it's about. and the sadness that comes with it.
Man, dude, that's the whole concept of like, man, did I make the right decision? Did I that kind of speaks just a little bit to so I was married for 10 years, and that's the only, you know, relationship I've had. I was 25 when I met him, and we were together for 10 years, and then we ended up getting divorced 3 years ago. And and I it's funny, I wouldn't say yeah, I would. It's kind of made me cynical to
Yeah,
like to love, you know what I mean? And it's funny because like I thought that myself, the whole, man, did I make the right decision? Because I'm kind of slow, like
yeah.
I don't fall in love quick. I don't
But
move
give me a second. My son just got
sure,
home.
sure,
I
absolutely.
want to ask him, Mika, is there a word Riz that you guys use? Street language, youth language? Riz? Do you know that? Or is it
Should I answer?
you can answer in English and German, whatever you want.
I mean, yeah, there was a phase
Uh-huh.
that's kind of over right now,
Okay.
but yeah, yeah,
So it's not cool anymore, but you used to use it.
it's there are words that are less cool to use. It's still
Okay.
like in the okay area,
Okay.
but yeah, it's over the phase
Okay, the
pretty
phase is
much.
over. Okay,
Yeah.
thank you very much. Thank you very much. Yeah.
He has you have
It's
to tell him that the people on social media, he needs to tell him that the phase is over and to move on.
yeah, well, but isn't that amazing? You have a 13-year-old German talking English like that. It's like
Yeah.
I'm so proud. But yeah, so we know about the word risk. Sorry, I had to interrupt you. You were just talking about like being slow in decisions and the marriage and yeah.
Yeah, and it's funny. I'm so slow to like feel when it comes to people. Like on like conversations, whatever, absolutely I like to, but when it comes to like the idea of love, I'm very like I don't fall quick. I don't, I'm not so quick to be like I'm in love, I'm very like, I I like to really like understand a person, like what is their heart like, and I've always kind of been beyond like the physical, like obviously attraction, but like I really like want to know somebody's heart
Yeah.
before. And I made this big decision of deciding that this person is going to be like my forever. I kind of processed and thought and wondered, took my time. And then it ends up like kind of, like biting me in the ass. But they're good people. They're good people and we get along. But I'm sorry, that's kind of like a long-winded story about me. But um, that's what that made me think of. Like, man, I used to be very heavy on the thinking of, um, is this the right thing? Is this the right decision? And now I kind of just roll with stuff for the most part. I do use wisdom on some things, but I think that thinking of like, man, was this the right thing? That held me back on so many things when I was younger, especially like I, when I say I was very like religion and religious, I don't want to come back to religion, but at that time, I wanted everything to be about, does God, do you approve of this? So I was really slow to decide on things. Would this make you
That,
happy?
there's another way to be spiritual just with yourself, and it's something I always doubted for a while, but it's more physics than being spiritual, but it accesses the same stuff that self-hypnosis. I'm not sure if you ever tried that, but I recently listened to one of the newest episodes of Star Talk Radio, which is by Neil deGrasse Tyson, the astrophysicist, and he
Oh,
had
okay.
yeah, you know the guy.
Yeah.
Did you see the Cosmos show?
I
Like
didn't watch, I've only seen him like on social media popping up and I would
yeah,
like,
yeah.
but I've
He's he,
never,
he's amazing. He's like and he's like all about science. So whenever he talks about like spirits or God or whatever, he even with that he always tries to understand the science behind it. So he had this one guy in his podcast called Star Talk Radio. which comes weekly, and it's amazing. He has this his amazing thing that he can explain the world to people like you and me, like, and
Yeah.
you actually explain, you actually understand like what particles are about and all these things. And he had this guy in the podcast who invented a hypnosis guy who invented this app for self-hypnosis called Reverie. It's Reveri. It's there in the App Store, and I'm not getting money for this ad. I'm just really, and I was like, it's not gonna work. And I tried that, and you can actually, there's different things you can try. Some people want to stop, they want to quit smoking. Some want to try to cure pain they have, like pain in their soul, in their hearts, or they suffer under some sickness, more or less serious, and they want to kind of try to cure parts of that. And that's not magic. It's not something you have to believe in. If you listen to this episode, this guy actually explains what you do, what you can access in your brain. Like what you're doing right now, you're focusing on me while I'm talking. That's part of the thing. And you might forget the things around you, like the color of your walls or whatever. Now you think about it because now I told you. But this is you're already in it, like in this process of focusing, and self-hypnosis helps you to really like you focus that much more like a laser. And I tried this app, Reverie. It's like it was amazing. So when you're dealing with things like insecurities and pain and these kind of things, even with that, like trying to understand certain kind of things, maybe you should try to help yourself with that. It's nothing you need to be afraid of because it's nothing like you're using this app and then you're forever staying in this weird trance state or whatever. That's not how hypnosis works. This is
Yeah.
like what they do in TV shows and whatever, you know, Jerry Springer, whatever. Here's our hypnosis guy. That's just crap, you know. So really, maybe that's interesting for you. Everybody who's watching here is like, it was amazing, and it's just physics. You don't have to believe in it.
I always wanted to do that what is it? It's a type of you have to have somebody there and you go on like a trip. And it's not like cocaine or anything, but it's I forget the term. It's a
Sleeping.
yeah. There's a type
Yeah.
of it's I would associate it with it's like a psychedelic or whatever,
Mhm.
but you have to be monitored. And I've heard people go on these trips and they literally will have these experiences where they'll face things, like this psychedelic or whatever will open up their head or open up their mind, right? And in the in the grand scheme of it all, that's a lot of us. A lot of us we have things that either, block our emotions or block our, an insecurity or a deep traumatic event or something.
And
And it's facing that, right? Like a hypnosis or whatever to somehow come out from like the weight of something that is blocking you from possibly receiving something in yourself, or
yeah.
it's like laying off the burden, I guess, kind of
Yeah,
like.
but I know what you mean with these trips. I forgot the right term for it, but the beautiful thing about self-hypnosis is that you can do that maybe not that strong and maybe not maybe and you also need to train a little for that.
Yeah,
It's not just there instantly. But the beautiful thing about it, it works without any drugs.
yeah,
You don't have to do anything to yourself to get there. And for some people, it does not work. So the guy in the podcast says it's like 4 out of 5. For some people, they just can't be hypnotized, no, neither by someone else nor by themselves. And it's not the same thing as meditating. Meditating is more like a trance state of mind. Like self-hypnosis works different, more direct, less sleepy, so to say. And
yeah.
yeah, it's amazing.
I,
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to look it up because that stuff is very curious to me. I like to understand that. Have you always been kind of, when it comes to spirituality and whatever, have you always been mindful of it, or has it become something that has become kind of more important as you've gotten older?
Yeah, I wouldn't say it's important to me at all in a way, because even the self-hypnosis thing, I wouldn't really call it spirituality. There's another hard word. I wouldn't call it being spiritual, because like I'm more like a Vulcan about these things. I
Oh,
love science. I'm all about logic. I like when the first thing I had to think of when we started the talk, you told me about being deeply religious. I thought about this one song that I wrote in German, but translated would be something like "The day I created God." It's like when you have problems and like I don't know how to answer things, so you make up a God, and so you can be happy again because there's your answer. You just created yourself. So, um, but I'm not an atheist. I don't have the ignorance and what's the right the arrogance to
yeah,
say there is no God.
yeah.
I know that's arrogant. For me, that's being a fundamentalist and a religious extremist just on the other side. I'm an agnostic, but actually, I'm an agnostic atheist. What does it say? I say, I don't believe there is a God. That's my atheist side. But my agnostic side is, but I don't know if there is a God. So, and the agnosticist side of it, that's actually taking much further, being an agnosticist, like ignore things, saying, and it doesn't matter. I don't have to discuss it with anyone unless it's fun. Because if there's no proof we can discuss, if there's no basis we can have a discussion on, I don't need to make a problem out of it. So I am open to everything spiritual. When something convincing comes around, I'm like, yeah, that's it. May it be a witch or God or the flying spaghetti monster or whatever. If suddenly there's something which is convincing to me for whatever reason, I don't need like proof on paper. It's like it has to convince me on whatever level, then I'm open for it. But so far, the way I see it, I don't feel the need to be spiritual, or I'm not on the search for something. And I'm totally
Mm,
fine, like thinking when I die, um, th th this here was the best time I could have, and not like death is the salvation and the better life comes afterwards. Like it's this life here, and there's no other life in the future, probably.
yeah. Dude, I love that, man, because I think so many people, being somebody who was like on the complete opposite of the spectrum and completely was sold in, and now I wouldn't say I'm an atheist because I do think there. Who am I to say out of all this great big cosmos, there is no big thing, you know? So I very much am like, I believe I have experiences that are kind of like, dude, I don't know how to explain that,
Yeah,
but I'm
sometimes
like,
I don't know. Yeah.
yeah, and I think people, so many people, they need something and they don't know how to tap into what I'm trying to say is what I've gotten to, especially like as I've gotten older, is I've learned to realize that like in a way, obviously you have people in your life that are good for you, that are good for, good for your well-being and, but like there's also this part where like you you are enough for yourself. Like you can be enough for yourself. You don't, for me personally, I don't need to like, hope this flying spaghetti monster makes me a better person. But you
Yeah.
have to have a level of awareness, like,
Yeah, and
you
you're
know,
actually responsible for that. You cannot say like, yeah, I've been a bad boy because Satan told me to. You're like, come on, you just took the wrong decision. You just been an asshole, you know? So and the thing is what's always so funny to me is for some people it's so impossible to understand that I cannot believe in a God. They're like, how can you live with that? And then I'm always trying to make a comparison. I'm going like, hey, in the history of mankind, there has been like thousands and thousands of gods. Whatever the source you're checking, it differs. Let's say 5,000. And I don't believe in 5,000 gods. You don't believe in 4,999 of these gods. So how hard can it be for you to understand to not believe in a God when you believe in this one, but you nearly do not believe in 5,000, and I do not believe in all the 5,000. The difference is not that big, you know. It can be
Yeah.
so hard
Yeah.
to actually understand that, but some people don't, and this is always the moment when they start to try to, you know, to missionize and but yeah, that's to a certain extent, to a certain point, also that is fine for me. Then I can discuss like, hey, come on, bro, relax, you know. But it can, yeah,
I
but
you said something about like, oh, I've been a bad boy, Satan, I had somebody reach out to me recently a couple weeks ago, and this person, 15 years ago was a very dear friend, and they too were very religious, and they reached out to me recently, and they said, Tommy, God put you on my heart. And I just wanted to connect with you, and I wanted to tell you about how, my life is so much better now because, I've really just hunkered down and I've really started to like give everything over to him. And I said, and I'm very respectful with people, like when it comes to this kind of expression. So I said, first of all, I said, oh, God wanted you to check in on me. That's really sweet of him. That's awesome. I said, and I'm really happy because I know the last time we talked, you were having a hard time. And if you are getting through these hard times and that really makes me happy because I know you were really kind of suffering. And they asked me, how's life going? And I said, since the last time we talked years ago, I don't believe anymore.
yeah.
And they were like, wait, what? And they said, you were the person I'd always go to. Like when I needed advice or encouragement, like you were e- everybody
Yeah,
went to you. And
but you can still do that.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And I said, things have changed, and they said, what happened? And I said, a new path for me. I said, but life is good. Things are going really well, and they said, you're being blinded by Satan. You're being blinded by Satan. And I said, listen, we are so quick to blame everything on Satan. And I said, Bree, your Satan wasn't your problem for all those years. It was your shitty taste in men that you didn't know how to fucking stop chasing these assholes that were
Yeah.
ruining your life. And you didn't wake up. But now you're waking up. That's not Satan, that's you. And I said, but
Or
I'm
maybe
glad.
it is. Who knows?
Maybe.
Always be open to it. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
always be open. But I remember they said, "Well, I'm gonna keep up with you. I'm gonna keep checking in with you." And I said, "Listen, if that is something because of God or whatever, like you don't need to, Brie. I'm going to be okay. But if
Yeah.
you genuinely want to check in, okay."
The thing is, sometimes it's so crazy. There's this one guy I spent a lot of time with in my past, and then we kind of split up because he turned into being like very strongly religious, and he always calls me out as a Satanist. And
Mm,
he's also doing that in public, and he's always telling like, look, and this, and the music, and the symbols, and Chris is a Satanist. And I talked to him so many times. I'm like, hey, bro, you know that I am not a Satanist. Why are you telling lies about me? I do not worship Satan. For me, worshiping Satan is pathetic. For me, being religious is it's not for me. I don't understand it for myself, but it's okay in general. But worshiping Satan or any other evil, any other made up evil, it's pathetic. I'm not a Satanist. And what he said then to me, and what he keeps telling other people, also in public, is saying Chris Harms is a Satanist, although he believes he is not. But he's still a Satanist because he's just a hand puppet of Satan. And he does not know that he's working in Satan's favor. So he thinks he's innocent, but he's still a Satanist. And what should you actually reply to someone when someone tells you you're a Satanist and you say, "No, I'm not," and he said, "Yes, you are, but you don't know that you are. You're just a hand puppet of Satan, and I'm so sorry of." Then the discussion is over. What should I
Yeah.
say then? I can only say like, okay. It's like
There's no convincing.
so there's like this one thing like when people are blaming something on Satan to make it easy for themselves, which is okay as an excuse, we're humans, we do like, yeah, Satan made me do it. Then you're like, oh, I'm not guilty, Satan made me do whatever. It's funny, but if someone makes you like saying like you're not guilty, Satan makes you do that, and I'm so sorry for you, then you what should I say? I can just say I'm not a Satanist. It's just bull crap, like the biggest pile of bull crap ever. But yeah, whatever.
Dude, there is, yeah, I've just come to realize that there is nothing that we could say to some people, and all we can do is do our best to greet them with kindness and just, you know, hey, we're not going to agree, but I really hope I wish you the best. And
Yeah, actually the way I reacted to them was like, you're always preaching love thy neighbor and be kind and be respectful. And what you are just doing to me is so not Christian. So maybe do as you preach.
yeah,
So like what you're just doing to me, with me, and also in public, it's just not Christian. And I would never speak bad about this person and telling his name and calling him names. And I'm just asking him like all the time, like, please stop saying bad things about me because I'm not saying bad things about you, and just please stop. And yeah, so sometimes people try to make you a good Christian, and but the way they try that, it's just pure evil. So yeah.
it sounds like content for a song. It sounds like something, this would be a really cool topic of discussion for music expression,
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
just remember me when we had this conversation.
Yeah, I will.
Yeah, but dude, I'm actually really thankful that like you were open to talk because I didn't intend on I haven't even looked at my list of like topic of discussion with you, because this is just we've been talking and I'm like, okay, he's not bothered by like talking about religion or whatever, because I again, we're not bashing or anything, and I'm grateful that you were open to just like flow, with me.
Yeah, no, actually, these kind of talks are so much more fun than the regular interview where you have question A and then comes an uh-huh, and then there's question B, and while you're answering question B, you accidentally already answer question C, which you did not know about, and then you get a uh-huh, and then you get question C, and you're like, try to communicate. Forget about these. Maybe if you feel things get stuck, then you're asking one of these questions. But yeah, so I very much enjoy these kind of talks. But yeah, everybody's
No,
different, and some people are not made for interview situations like this, or for discussions, podcasts, call them however you want. So
it's cool because I feel like there is like a relatability to you because I remember when I first started doing this, I I've always, when it comes to like empathy or being empathic and or whatever, I've always been I've thought I'm too much, because when I'm talking to people, it's hard for me just to do like the typical surface conver small talk is really hard for me. And
maybe you are too much for some, and that is okay because some people are too much for you. That's okay.
yeah, and I remember starting these conversations, and I said to myself, I was like, man, I can't watch a lot of interviews because like, for me, this whole focus is I want people when they see this to connect to you more. I want them to see Chris's heart. I want them to see a part of him that maybe they haven't got. And so that's my focus on like every conversation that I have. It's not, I hate the regimented list. Like I can feel your all's pain when somebody's like, Chris, question one, and
When did you found the band? I already looked it up on Wikipedia, but I thought I just asked you again. So,
yeah, yeah. And I feel for you all because like I feel like you're not a robot. You're not like my life is not 24/7 on stage or in studio. Like I I have emotions, I have feelings, I have thoughts about things. I would have never known about science for you or whatever. So to me, the being able to just talk and obviously too make you feel very comfortable. Yeah, Chris, thank you so much for your time. Thank you for hanging
yeah,
out and spending
thank you.
time with me. I really do appreciate and I can't wait to see what's on the horizon for you.
Thank you for the great talk.
I go